Okay, we are back for the final sign of 3 that we have discussed in our series on awakening the Jewish spirit following the signs. We have talked a lot about so many different aspects of how we can increase our connection to Jewish practice, to the Jewish people, to Hashem, to the land, and everything in between. Today we are going to work on a final sign, a crucial sign, one that is inseparable to who we are as a people, and it is the Jewish art of Shabbat. The Jewish art of Shabbos, the Sabbath. Today, we're going to get a little taste of Shabbos, and I hope that that little taste can help create much more of a cheshek, a desire to be a part of Jewish time. Okay, sign number 3. Here is our source. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat, ledorotam beris olam. We're supposed to guard Shabbat, make it something that lasts forever, from all generations, throughout all generations, as a beris olam, an eternal covenant between us and Hashem. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, between Hashem and the Jewish people, b'nei Yisrael. There's that word, ot hi le'olam. It's an eternal sign for all time. There's something absolutely marvelous, magical, and special about Shabbos. It's, of course, one of the 10 commandments. It's also, we say it's the Brit Olam. It's part of the Brit. Of course, it's part of the bigger Brit that we have as the people of the children of Israel, as receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai. But it's also in and of itself a Brit, just like Brit Milah. It's also a Brit, and it's also an Ot. Unbelievably powerful, unbelievably special. And that's why I love that quote by Achad Am. More than Jews have kept Shabbos, Shabbos has kept the Jews. It is something that is inseparable to Jewish identity. The first association that so many people have when they think about being Jewish is Shabbos. It's Shabbos, which is Ashkenazi pronunciation, Shabbat, which is Sephardi, or Yemenite, which is Shabbath. This is the greatest gift. We say Masechet Shabbat, the whole tractate of Shabbat, says, Amar lo Kodesh Baruch Hu Moshe. Moshe, Hashem says to Moshe, Matana tova yeshli beveis gazanai v'Shabbos shama. I have a great gift, a matana tova in my treasure house. What is her name? Shabbos Shema. It's the Shabbos. This is this special matana tova, this unbelievable divine gift that we have called Shabbos. What does he say? V'ani mevakesh litena leYisrael. I'm asking you, please give it to Israel. Lech v'hodiam. Go and tell them about it. Go and show them about Shabbos. Go and taste the Shabbos. It is a heavenly day. We say on one of the Shabbat Zmirot, called Ma Yehidut, by Menachem Ibn Saruk, Me'en Olam Haba Yom Shabbat Menucha. Shabbos is a taste of Olam Haba, a taste of the world beyond, a taste of the world to come. That is Shabbos Menucha, Shabbos of rest. Rabbi Sacks always talks about it's the rehearsal for the Messianic era. There are 2 types of Shabbat archetypally in the Torah that are very important for us to understand. Number 1 is called the Shabbos of creation. The Shabbos of creation, all we have to do is go back to Bereshit, Genesis, and say, see, V'yachal Elohim b'yom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, v'yishpot b'yom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. On the 7th day, Hashem finished the work, all of the malacha that he was working on. V'yishpot b'yom hashvi'i, he rested on Shabbos from all of that work. There's this Shabbos of creation. And that is just this sort of universal. This is before the Jewish people. This is like part of the cycles of creation, this natural human part of the life cycle that we need to relax, restore, and rejuvenate. If Hashem, who is the creator of everything and is infinite and has infinite energy, and he's resting, of course, Kal V'chomer, we need rest in the world. There's a natural element to being human, which requires a sense of Shabbos, and that's the Shabbos of creation. We see this as well in the 10 Commandments. 6 days Hashem makes the world. Vayanach b'yom hashvi'i, he rests on Shabbos. There's a sense of resting, a sense of calmness, a sense of this natural rhythm of not needing to always work. This work-rest balance. We say work-life balance, work-rest balance, or 24/6. I'm available 24/6, not on Shabbos, not on Shabbos. That's the first element of Shabbat. But then there's also the Shabbos of freedom, and that's a totally different discussion. It says, and this is in Devarim, we receive from Moshe a repetition of the 10 Commandments. And this 10 Commandments says, V'zacharta ki eved hayisa be'eretz Mitzrayim. And why are you keeping Shabbos? Not because in 6 days God created the world and on the 7th day God rested, but rather it's this idea that you were an eved in Mitzrayim, you were a slave in Egypt. V'tziach Hashem Elokechem misham b'yad chazaka v'zro natuya God took you out with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. Because of that, you are now supposed to keep Shabbos. This is a totally different element. So this Shabbos is all about we were slaves in Egypt, and now we are not slaves in Egypt. Hashem took us out. And that's why there's this importance of the Shabbos of freedom. So let's just look a little bit about the origins of this Shabbos of freedom in the story of the Exodus. We know that Moshe and Aaron are constantly pleading to Paro, Nelechana, let my people go. Derech Shlosh Yamim, for 3 days, Bamidbar, in the desert. We want to make karbana, we want to make sacrifices to Hashem. What does Paro say? I'm not letting you go. And this is unbelievable. Rabbi Foreman talks about this. You think I'm going to give you rest from your labor? That's what Paro says, the first person in the Torah to refer to Shabbos, not Hashem's Shabbos, the one we saw in Bereshit, the first person to refer to Shabbos. Paro is saying, I'm not giving you Shabbos. That's why it says, Velo sham'u el Moshe mikotze ruach u'me'avodah kasha. They could not hear Moshe because they were short of breath. They were kotze ruach, this shortness of spirit, and from the harsh labor that they were engaged in. This is an amazing Rashi. Kol mishu meitzer, whoever's in meitzar, trouble, rucho unishmito ktsara, their breathing becomes ktsara, their breathing becomes short. Ve'eno yachol le'ha'arich benishmaso. They can't elongate, they can't make longer their breathing. There's this unbelievable element of being enslaved in Egypt, this sense of having no Shabbos. And Hashem wants to take us out of that. It's not just about this natural cycles, it's about being a holy purpose, being Hashem's people. Et Shabbatotai tishmaru, observe Shabbos, ki ot. There's that word ot again. It's an ot, beini uveinechem, between me and you, ledorosechem, again, this foreverness, ledas ki ani Hashem mekadishchem. Ki ani Hashem mekadishchem. I'm Hashem who's making you kedusha, holy. There's this element of Shabbat to make us into this incredible, godly, connected people. Rashi says, Ot gedola hi v'neinu. This is a great gedola ot, a great ot between us. Shebacharta v'chem b'hanchilei lachem et yom menuchati lemenucha. That I've chosen you, to allowing you to have this inheritance called Shabbos Menucha, this day of unbelievable rest. So this is the holy element of Shabbos. It's this element of creation, natural, take a break, but it's also be something totally beyond this world. Be part of the Jewish covenant, be part of the Jewish people in their connection to holy time and to being a holy people. So however we see this day, sometimes more through the lens of the Shabbos of creation, sometimes through the Shabbos of freedom. Either way, as it says back in Genesis, it feels like Vayvarech Elokim et Yom HaShvi'i, God blessed this day, Vayikadesh oto, and made it kedusha, made it special, sanctified, elevated, and holy. So how does Shabbos well? There are 2 great verbs to describe how we're supposed to relate to Shabbat. The first is connected to the first tablets, the first revelation at Mount Sinai. It says, Zachor es Yom HaShabbos lekodsho, remember Shabbos, keep it holy. The second time with the second revelation, the second time in Devarim with the repetition, it says, Shamor es Yom HaShabbos lekodsho, guard Shabbat and keep it holy. So we have Zachor v'Shamor. And traditionally we understand this to make up 2 parts of the Shabbos experience. Could be said as rest and play, but let's look into it. Shamor is known as the lota says, the refrains, the sense of moving away from, resting from certain activities, moving those out of the way. That's Shamor. Zachor is aseh, the positive actions to make Shabbos special. And we have a beautiful explanation here by Impnini Halacha, Rav Malamed, the modern day posek, modern day Jewish law decisor in Israel. He says that on Shabbat, we're supposed to lishbot mikol malacha, to rest from all milacha. So what we're doing is then we're notzar halal panui benefesh. We're creating a space. We're clearing a space in our neshamas, our nefesh, our soul, in order to bring in the kedusha of Shabbat, to bring in the positive element of Shabbat. She'inyanali iskor kedushas Shabbos, to remember and commemorate Shabbos. So we have this sense of don't do's, and we have the sense of do's, and both are super important. So very briefly here, and actually they're one. We say in the tefillah, Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad in lechadodi. Shamor v'zachor, guarding and remembering, don't do and do, all become one, b'dibur echad, in one utterance. And so this idea is, of course, that it was said all together at Mount Sinai, but for us, there's this message of they're both part of Shabbos, really what it makes Shabbos. The first one we want to talk about is Shamor Shabbat, to take a day off, to move away from, to rest from, refrain from certain types of labor. We'll see the very clearest language from Rav Eliezer Melamed on this topic. So where does this work come from that you're not supposed to do? We're not going to get into the details of this, but anything essentially that helped made what we call as the tabernacle, the Mishkan, which was this portable sanctuary that we created in the desert, as well as, of course, whatever went into making the Beit Mikdash, the temple. All those types of works, the malachot that made the Mishkan, those are the ones that are asur on Shabbat. They're not allowed on Shabbat. But for us, of course, that's our work. That's our business. That's our life. That's the things that we're engaged in on a regular basis. We don't work. We don't engage in our jobs. So one way you can really get into Shabbat is to just don't do the same things we're doing in terms of the work week with our labor. So even speaking about it, for example, we're not supposed to do. Daber davar dibur aser. We're not supposed to even think. We're not even supposed to speak about it. And even better, hirhurim are allowed. We're allowed to think about our work. We're allowed to think about it. But even better, as Rav Yosef Karo says in the Shulchan Aruch, it's a mitzvah shelo yachashov. Don't even think about it during the Shabbos. Even though you're allowed to, don't even think about your work on Shabbos. Like, be in a different planet. Don't even, when it comes up in your head, be like, thank you for being there. I'm busy today. I'll come back to it. Why? Because the real attitude that you want to have in this Shamor part of Shabbat is ke'ilu komalachto asuya. Everything I've done is done. There's nothing left to do. And this is a really hard thing not to think about it. I find personally, Friday afternoons towards Friday evening, it's very hard. Like, all these thoughts are swirling in about all the things I didn't get done during that week. And it's kind of like a New Year's resolution feeling almost. It's like you just remember all the things that you totally forgot about during your week. And now I'm actually working on this, that after Shabbat, I write down all the ideas. I try not to think about them on Shabbat. They come up. I say, thank you for being here. I'm busy. But then after Shabbat, I try to then remember it so that I can deal with it later. But it's not the time on Shabbat to deal with it. At least we have that sped up time where it's like not a year that goes by, it's a week that goes by, and we remember all the things that we wanted to get done that we didn't get done. Another way to make this great is the tzivyon Shabbat, to refrain from things that go against the tzivyon, the spirit of Shabbat. And one of the things that's become so connected and important in our day, not be plugged in 24/7. What a different world. What a social experiment we're doing right now by being plugged in 24/7. This is an opportunity to not be kederech b'yom chol, not be like living the way we do during yom chol, the weekdays. We want to be totally different. We want to refrain from our work, not even speak about it, not even really think about it, and be in a different spirit. Refrain maybe from our technology and some other things that we are very commonly doing during the weekday. And then we want to zachor Shabbat. We want to bring in Shabbos in a way of positive connection, kedusha, increasing our sense of this day is not just about rest. This day is about something deep and awesome and special. And that's where we get into zachor. So it says in Yeshaya, im tashiv mishabbos reglecha, if you refrain from trampling with your feet on Shabbat, asot chavatzecha, going after your own affairs, beyom kadshi, during my holy day, karasa leshabbos oneg, and you call Shabbos a day of absolute oneg, pleasure, delight. It's a day of kedusha. That's just how you want to relate to this day. That's how you want to be in this day. You want to refrain from that work, as we talked about, in order to create delight. So let's just run through a list of all the different ways that we can connect on this day. Again, we're not going to stop into so much detail with them, but there's just so many ways to positively connect it to the holiness of this day. Not just not doing things, but doing amazing and holy and special things. So first of all, Shabbos Hayom L'Shem, it's a day of spirituality and kedusha, a day of godliness. It's a day of family and relationships. Mechabed me'od Shabbos, we make Shabbos greatly honored when we have Mishpacha Yehudit get together, mitgabeshes umit we come, unite, we come close together. That's a really special way to connect on Shabbat. We have oneg, call it a Shabbos oneg. We just said that, call Shabbos oneg. This is how we engage in, we do pleasurable activities, simcha, joy, and enjoy the things of this day, enjoy the present moment. So it's also the menucha, shalom, shalva, v'hashket, v'vetach, peace, tranquility, quiet, security. These are part of our Shabbos prayers that we say. Just a way to connect on a calmer, slower level. Torah study. Hashem gave us Shabbos to osek b'divrei Torah, to be connected to Torah study, to learning in an uninterrupted way, in a much more incredibly powerful way. Now we have od tefillah, kav'u hachamim b'Shabbat. We have more prayers to say on Shabbos. We have the Musaf prayers, just extra connection to spirituality of prayer. We have, of course, the hadlakat nerot, lighting candles on Shabbat. That's an incredibly beautiful way every week before the sundown to just bring in Shabbat, to light a candle and say, wow, I'm connecting to the light of this day, the beautiful light of this day. And we say, Shabbos candles bring shalom bayit, it brings peace in the home, the light into the house. Wine and just connecting to the holiness of that day. wine or kiddush that make Shabbos holy, we say that we make kiddush. We actually fulfill the mitzvah of zachor et yom Shabbat, which I was just saying to you, through zochrehu ala yain. We do it through kiddush, and we do kiddush through yain. And of course, if you don't drink, totally fine, grape juice, whatever it is, but just a sense of, wow, this is a special day, and I'm declaring it with something special. And then we have the meals of oneg at the Shabbat bisudot tovot. We have great meals that we're supposed to have, and we're supposed to eat a lot. Obviously, not overeat, but eat a lot. And we're going to have seudot. And we have Rav Nachman say in the Gemara that he was given his reward just by having the seudah. 3 seudot. We have Shabbos night, Shabbos day, and in seudah shlishit, the third meal. You can connect to Shabbos through your sleep. Lishan ben nachat, to have a rest with nachas. The sleep with nachas is valuable. The way you walk, the way you dress, the way you speak should be different and elevated. And we said, of course, avoiding certain types of learning and reading about business maybe. But you can still, maybe even if you connect to it, maybe read some material that has value to you, might not even necessarily religious stuff, but just thing that you might enjoy to read. Mit'anig b'kriyatam. These are all things you can do to enjoy Shabbat and connect to a different type of day that then gives you energy for the week, but also just in and of itself has its own incredible life value. And Rabbi Sacks zt'l, I want to end off with a quote by him. The Sabbath is Judaism's stillness at the heart of the turning world. It is just an unbelievable opportunity to stop and connect on such a deep level. Then that's really the last sign. Sign number 3 is Shabbat. We don't know where we'd be without Shabbat. It is the greatest gift to the Jewish people, the greatest gift for being alive in this world, to stop and pause and taste the world to come in this world. So practically, maybe choose some things to refrain from, choose some things to enjoy with, and good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. And we will conclude with just a short ending to this series next time.